The night air was thin, biting at every exposed inch of skin. A grey, bruised moon hung low, the final light filtering through clouds that carried distant thunder from a brewing storm. The world around the clandestine shelter was silent, save for the faint hum of emergency generators and the slick scuttle of melting snow. Cale Harlow sat slumped on a worn synthetic crate, his boots tucked beneath him, gun resting across his thighs. He'd been alone for years alone, but for the company of memories and a battered comms board that never answered his calls. But tonight, something had changed. He first heard the uneven steps outside. 1, past 2. The steps told him everything he needed. Someone needed help. His throat tightened as he rose. Instincts born of lost battles and hushed grief snapped awake. In the weak light of his makeshift workshop, he found the shelter's plasma rifle and tucked a sidearm at his hip. Over the years, he'd learned that a fight could come faster than the flash of a broken star. Tonight, he would be ready. A soft-sounding voice floated in through the cracked hatch. A whisper, vulnerable yet clear. "Please, may I come in?" Cale's hand tightened on the rifle's grip. He inched the door open a crack, peering out. Snow coated the ground in a shivering hush. Standing in its center was a woman unlike any human he'd known. Her skin shimmered in violet hues. She was tall, slender, and bruised. Her clothes, a faded green bra and matching half-length pants, were torn and speckled with snow and blood. Most striking, her ears long, pointed, delicate, like the elvish legends of old Earth. He hesitated a beat, memories of past betrayals flashing through his mind. Desperate eyes turned prey, broken promises and silent echoing worldlessness. He had chosen solitude because trust had cost him too much. Yet something in her voice, raw with pain and fear, cracked a door in his defenses. "Come in," he said quietly. The door swung open wider, and the jagged coal slipped inside. A whisper across her skin, but she stepped inside anyway, 1 foot after the other, as though leaving the howling silence outside mattered more than risking. What came next? She slid the door shut behind her, but didn't meet his eyes. Instead, she watched the dim warmth of the small hearth where a heater glowed, the shelter flickering with life. "You're bleeding," he said, nodding to the thin trickle of crimson on her thigh. "Nothing," she replied softly, brushing back a strand of silvery white hair from her face. "Just a scrape." Cale crossed the room in 3 steps, laying the rifle aside. He motioned toward the seat beside him. "Sit. I'll patch it." She hesitated, glancing at the medical supplies tucked away on shelves, the antiseptic, the bandages. Before carefully sliding into the seat, he worked swiftly, gentle, even cleansing the wound, applying disinfectant, wrapping a sterile bandage. She sat rigid, staring at her lap, and he wondered if she'd never been touched like this before. Not with care, but out of necessity. "Why are you out here?" he asked, the words quiet but probing. She swallowed, voice tight. "They call it the reclamation. I'm a hybrid, part human, part Zeralon. My mother was from your world. My father bred in your labs, I think, for military purpose. I escaped." Cale's breath caught. He slid back. "Labs, military, She nodded once, face ashen. They breed us for war. We're meant to be weapons. And if we're broken or disobedient, they reclaim us or erase us. I escaped during a transport convoy. He looked around metal walls etched with scorch marks, buried sensors in each corner, and the lone plasma rifle mounted by the door. This was no civilian hideout. Cale had been a tech specialist for mining drones before the wars. Before the heartbreak, he'd slid into survival long before there was any glory left. The scars in the metal still spoke of that day. You weren't. Headed back, she shook her head. I have nowhere to go, nowhere safe. Snow brushed against the door with every gust, a force in the wind that threatened to erase footprints, to remove her. Cale swallowed hard. He knew what she faced: hunters, drones, squads in sleek armor, and bio-trackers to shut her down. Remove the anomaly. He'd seen enough wanted poster holo skimmers littered across spaceports. Some with bounty numbers, some with faces. Some were as young as she looked. He glanced at her bruised form again, her body coated in frost. Lip cracked, collarbone cut. My shelter is old tech, but it works. No drones, no trackers. Hidden by terrain. You're safe for tonight. She looked up, violet eyes shining something between relief and disbelief. Thank you. He nodded, uncomfortable at her vulnerability. Name's Cale Harlow. She paused, then offered a small smile. I'm Relia, but people call me Jerry, short for Geraldine. Please, Cale. He studied her, twice born in blood and secrets, a creature of science and sorrow, stepping barefoot into cold granite and belief. What did he know of raising dawns and souls? Not much, but he knew this. Whatever followed, she'd no longer be alone. He went to the power console, flipped a switch, and the glow of warmth spread over her. Eat, drink, rest. Jerry watched the steaming mug. He handed her sweet, thick soup. She sipped carefully, as though tasting safety itself. Tears gathered, and she blinked rapidly. Cale clenched his jaw. He'd shut everyone out, but he'd let one woman, one alien see the faint flicker of what remained in him. He had nothing but this shelter, these makeshift weapons, and a heart that had given up on hope. Now, he felt a spark. Then the air quivered, a hum from the sensor ray. Subtle but looming. A light blinked red. External detector sweep. Ha, Cale murmured, tense. Hunters, this soon. Jerry stiffened. They always come back. He rose, stepping toward her. I'll deal with it. He raised the rifle, voice firm. Stay here, Jerry. But she tugged at his sleeve, her grip surprisingly strong. Please. I'm afraid. He looked at her, in the warm light, violet skin shining, and wet with tears. Something broke in him. He knelt beside her. Whatever happens, he said softly, you are not alone. He tucked a frazzled strand of her silver hair behind an ear. I promise. Her eyes widened at the promise, astonished, scared, yet hopeful. In that fragile moment, as the storm crashed near and far, the world felt vast and small at once. He reached for her hand, enveloping it in his rough palm. Her skin was cool, but firm. "Hang on," he whispered. Then he stood, pulling a battered plasma rifle into his hands. She watched him, braced, together, contaminant and protector, alien and human, hearts wary and unguarded in the furnace of threat they faced into the coming storm. And as he opened the hatch and stepped into the swirling snow, one thought rang clear: he would fight. Because to protect Jerry was to reclaim something lost in him long ago, something sainted in scars, something better. The snowstorm had dulled to a whisper by the time Cale returned to the shelter. The crimson light of the motion detector had dimmed no real threat this time, just a wandering drone passing overhead. But it was enough to make Cale reinforce every lock, double-check the thermal dampeners, and rebalance the power draw from the shield generator. If someone had picked up Jerry's trail, they'd come with more than a drone next time. Inside, Jerry sat curled near the heater, her arms wrapped tightly around her knees. She wore one of Cale's oversized thermal shirts now, sleeves hanging long past her hands. Her hair, once frozen in icicles, had begun to dry in slow, silver waves down her back. "You're safe," Cale said quietly, setting the rifle on the workbench and stomping the ice from his boots. Just a scanner probe might have caught a heat bloom. I diverted the grid and jammed its signal before it could ping anything back. Jerry looked up, eyes searching his face. "How do you know all this?" He hesitated. "Used to work for EarthGov during the Rift Wars. Engineering cores. Mostly repair, salvage, tech repurposing." Her brows rose. "But you're out here, alone." I learned the hard way that survival and silence walk hand in hand. Jerry's eyes darkened at his words. She seemed to understand all too well. Cale handed her a heated ration packet. "Eat. You need strength." She opened it, curious, and took a bite. Her face lit with honest delight. "It's sweet. Maple protein bar. One of the few things left from Earth I still like." Jerry chuckled, then paused. "You humans have a strange way of showing kindness." Cale leaned against the steel frame of the hatch. "And you aliens have a strange way of surviving." They shared a quiet moment, two fugitives against the stars, bonded by the bone-deep ache of having nowhere else to go. Jerry broke the silence. "They're not going to stop, you know. The Genetic Oversight Division, once they tag someone, they send out bounty silencers. They don't want hybrids to survive. It's easier to erase us." Cale's knuckles whitened around the rifle. "Then we don't give them that choice." Jerry looked at him. "You don't even know me." "I don't need to," Cale said, his voice low and firm. "I saw enough in your eyes to know you fought just to breathe. That's enough for me." Her breath caught. Suddenly, the alert screen on Cale's console beeped once. Then twice. An encrypted message came through, flickering across the cracked monitor in Emerald script. "Local beacon activated Sector 13.4. Priority, blackout, code, rescue OR retrieval. 36 hours until GOD deployment." Jerry's eyes widened. "They found me," Cale swore. He pulled up the coordinates. The signal wasn't far, 30 clicks south. If she'd left even the faintest trace when crossing the ice valleys, they could track her. "We have two choices," He said, "We run, or we erase everything they think they know." Jerry stood, her legs trembling slightly. "If we run, they'll just follow. They'll never stop. Then we fight," Cale said grimly. She stepped toward him. "You don't have to do this." He met her gaze. "I do. Because I've lived a long time trying not to feel anything. Then you showed up at my door, bleeding and freezing, whispering about cooking, and cleaning like you weren't even sure that it'd be enough to be human." Jerry looked down, embarrassed. He continued, "But it was. It is. Because it made me feel again." She looked up at him now, eyes softening, a light behind the violet. "You're not like the others." Cale smirked. "Yeah, I thought I was. Just the local hermit with good rations." She laughed a real laugh this time, and Cale found himself smiling in return. Then she stepped closer. "You should know," she said, her voice quiet. "When a hybrid bonds with someone truly, it's not just emotional. Our nervous systems sync. Our lives align. It's a biological code, like choosing a mate." Cale blinked. "Are you saying I don't expect anything from you?" Jerry cut in, cheeks flushed. "I only wanted you to understand what it means when I stay." He nodded slowly, unsure what to say. He wasn't ready to define what was between them, but he knew one thing. It mattered, and he was willing to fight for it. They spent the next 8 hours fortifying the shelter. Jerry helped rewire the auxiliary power node while Cale rerouted the solar relay to act as a false signal hub, one that would trigger when scanned, drawing any incoming forces away from their true location. He was impressed by her sharp technical instincts. "You ever work a comm relay before?" Jerry smirked. "My father was a hybrid engineer. I grew up rerouting power cells to hide my heat signature from patrols." Cale grunted approval. "No wonder you made it this far." "I didn't," she whispered. "Not until you." The words hung in the air like starlight caught in fog. By nightfall, a new storm loomed beyond the horizon. Jerry curled up in the cot across from Cale's bunk, the soft hum of old Earth music playing through a dusty speaker. Jazz, she'd called it, a strange, warm sound. "Tell me," she said, voice soft in the dark. "What did you lose, Cale?" He didn't answer at first. Then, a fiancé, a daughter, both lost in the collapse of Meridian Station. I was off-world on assignment. When I returned, there was nothing. Jerry sat up. "I'm so sorry." "I don't say it for pity," Cale replied. "Just so you know, I understand loss." She got out of bed, slowly crossing the space between them. Without asking, she sat beside him and placed a hand over his heart. "You've been numb a long time," she said gently. "Yeah. Let me help you feel again." He looked at her, the glow of the heater outlining her silhouette. Alien, yes, but beautiful. Not just in form, but in fire, in strength, in her refusal to die quietly, and in the space between breath and promise. He leaned forward, brushing his lips softly across hers. She didn't flinch. When they parted, she whispered, "Then we fight together." He nodded. The next day, their trap was set. A decoy signature pulsed from an abandoned ridge to the east. Cale rigged remote EMP mines along the approach. and Jerry masked their true energy readings with a cloaking field she designed from broken medical instruments and a retrofitted plasma coil. They waited, weapons charged, hearts aligned. At 400, the skies roared. A sleek black dropship sliced through the cloud cover, hatches opening to release 5 hunter drones and 2 humanoid enforcers in silver armor. They moved fast, too fast. But the moment they passed into the kill zone, Jerry activated the trap. The mines exploded in a cascade of blinding light. One enforcer fell. The other staggered. Drones spun wildly in disarray. Kale opened fire, his plasma rifle spitting blue. Fire! Jerry dove beside him, throwing a charge that disabled a second drone midair. The last enforcer roared toward them, his gauntlet glowing, but Jerry rushed forward and slammed a cryo stick into his throat. The fight ended in 13 seconds. The field was quiet again except for Kale's labored breathing and Jerry's trembling form crouched in the snow. He rushed to her. "You okay?" She nodded, stunned. "I didn't expect it to be so fast. Welcome to fighting back." They gathered what intel they could, then torched the bodies, scattering magnetic disruptors across the snow to hide any trace. As they returned to the shelter, side by side, Jerry asked softly, "Do you regret letting me in?" Kale stopped, looked at her. "No," he said. "Letting you in was the first real thing I've done in years." Inside the shelter, warm once more, Jerry stood before the mirror Kale kept mounted above his console. Her reflection shimmered a patchwork of scars, curves, and starlit skin. Kale stepped behind her, resting a hand on her shoulder. "You don't have to change anything," he said. "Not for me." "I already have," she whispered, leaning into him. "You gave me a place, a name, a future." He smiled. "So, you still cook, clean, and stay quiet?" Jerry grinned. "I lied about the quiet part." And then she kissed him fully, openly, like a woman who'd chosen her home not by coordinates, but by heartbeat. Snow melted around the entrance to Kale's outpost, not from the sun, but from the heat signatures of battle. The trap they had laid was only a temporary deterrent. More would come. Kale was adjusting the solar rays when he saw Jerry staring out at the mountains beyond. "Something bothering you?" he asked, brushing snow from his gloves. She nodded slowly. "That strike team, one of them had the crest of the Prime-born." He froze. "That name means something." Her jaw tensed. "It means I don't have as much time as I thought." Kale lowered his tools. "Start explaining." She turned to face him. "I wasn't just fleeing bounty hunters. I'm the daughter of a high-caste scientist from the Narisia Combine. My DNA was engineered, spliced with human compatibility for diplomatic blending." His brow furrowed. "Blending? You mean?" She nodded. "They wanted to create a universal envoy, a half-blood capable of reproducing across species lines, to be given as tribute to whatever empire Narisia wanted to appease." Kale exhaled. "So you were bred to be currency. My father rebelled. He hid me. We escaped to an outer moon, lived there in secrecy until the Prime-born found us. He died protecting me." Her voice faltered. "I've been running since." Kale looked at her, really looked. All the strength, the sadness, the quiet dignity. It made sense now. And when you showed up here, he murmured, you weren't just freezing. You were done running. Jerry whispered, I was ready to die. He walked over and gently took her hand. You're not dying. You're finally living. Just then, the proximity alert wailed. Cale raced inside, Jerry at his heels. The surveillance display lit up with Signature's 3 drop crafts inbound. He scanned the trajectory. Not enforcers. Worse. Mercenaries. Double quotes private guns. Cale growled. Looks like the bounty's gone galactic. Jerry narrowed her eyes. And they won't stop unless we make them? He nodded. Time to vanish. They spent the next 18 hours tearing down the shelter, not destroying it, but disguising it. Cale activated dormant geothermal vents to melt nearby terrain, simulating tectonic instability. He rerouted the shield generator to fry incoming scans. Jerry used microparticles from a fractured stealth unit to create an aerial haze over their real tracks. By dusk, they'd loaded a secondary rover with supplies, weapons, and a portable distress beacon, a fake one, ready to vanish into the mountains. He asked. Jerry looked at the fading horizon. Only if it's with you. The mountain base they fled to had once been a mining relay station abandoned. After a planetary collapse, Cale hadn't been back here in years. As they passed through rusted bulkheads and dormant life support systems, Jerry lit a glow stick and whispered, "This place feels like ghosts are watching." He chuckled. Probably just the echoes of idiots who used to think they were invincible. They set up a new perimeter, but neither of them slept. That night, Cale found Jerry alone in the old command center, staring at a busted transmission hub. "I've been thinking," she said softly. "If they capture me, there's more than my life at stake. My body could be used to restart the hybrid program. Everything I've been running from would start again." Cale stepped forward. "Then we make sure that doesn't happen." She looked at him, truly looked. "Cale, if anything happens to me, I want you to know something." He shook his head. "Don't. We're not writing last words yet." "No," she said firmly. "You need to hear this." He stopped. She placed a hand to his chest. "I love you." His heart skipped. She smiled faintly. "I didn't expect it, but it's real. Every second with you made the darkness smaller." Cale's throat tightened. He had lost so much, but with her, something had been returned. "I love you too," he said, and kissed her. Morning came with war. The first wave of mercenaries landed at the old relay point, thinking they had the element of surprise. They didn't. Jerry triggered the avalanche barrier Cale had rigged. Half the force was buried instantly. The rest scrambled until plasma fire erupted from above. Cale, perched in the old crane tower, took down 3 before they knew where he was. Jerry, nimble and furious, lured one squad into a narrow shaft and ignited a cryo-charge. The battle raged for 15 minutes. Then the enemy commander appeared, tall, four-armed, armor-plated and wielding a gravity hammer. He stomped through fire and smoke like a Titan. Cale fired no effect. Jerry engaged him directly. They clashed in a fury of light and motion, her agility against his brute strength. He grabbed her mid-spin and hurled her into a steel wall. Kale screamed, but Jerry got up, bleeding, broken, but blazing with energy. She pulled a pulse blade from her belt and drove it into the creature's core. It let out a final roar and fell. Then silence. Later, Kale carried her back to the relay command, laying her gently on an old med stretcher. "You insane, stubborn alien," he whispered. "You could have died." She smirked through the pain. "But I didn't. Because you were here." He brushed the blood from her forehead. "We're going to fix this. We're going to survive. Together." Jerry touched his cheek. "Then stay with me. Forever." He leaned down, pressed his forehead to hers, and whispered, "Always." Outside, the stars watched over a mountain. They had seen war, death, and now love. They had chosen each other, and no one, no empire, no bounty would ever take that away. The sky over the old mining relay turned dark, not from nightfall, but from the sudden arrival of a cruiser-class warship entering low orbit. Kale stared at the scanner readings in disbelief. "That's not a mercenary ship. That's a Narisian Royal Dreadnought." Jerry limped into the room, still wrapped in healing foam and holding herself stiffly. "It's her. My mother." Kale turned sharply. "What?" Jerry nodded. "High Matriarch Celera. She ruled Narisia by blood and tech. She was the one who had me bred in a lab, then abandoned me when I failed the obedience protocols. But she didn't let me die. She needed a hybrid to present as a diplomatic offering when the human-Narisian war began. She sent her own daughter as a bargaining chip," Kale growled. "She never saw me as a daughter." Jerry's voice was hollow, just a key, a tool, a potential truce wrapped in flesh. Kale's hands tightened into fists. "She's not taking you. Not now. Not ever." Jerry walked to the viewport. The Dreadnought's hangars began opening, and sleek skiffs launched toward the surface like silent birds of prey. "No," she said quietly. "She'll come herself. She always finishes things personally." It was midnight when Celera landed. The valley hummed with silent energy as she stepped from her armored skiff, surrounded by silver-armored royal guards. Tall, elegant, and cruelly beautiful, her violet robes shimmered like liquid moonlight. Her eyes, however, were devoid of warmth. Jerry stepped forward into the open snow, facing the woman who had given her life and nearly taken it. "Hello, Mother." Celera's lips curled. "Geraldine, I see the humans didn't teach you better posture." Jerry stood tall. "The humans taught me how to live. You taught me how to hide." Celera's gaze slid past her to Kale, standing 10 paces behind with his rifle lowered but ready. "This is the male?" she said with thin disdain. "You gave your virgin signature to that." "He saved me," Jerry said. "He chose me when no one else would." "That's more than you ever did," Celera sneered. "You were not built for choosing. You were meant to serve, and now you will." She raised her gauntlet, but before her guards could move, a blast echoed across the mountain. Kale fired a warning shot into the snow beside her. "Touch her," he said, "and I'll send you back to your ship in pieces." The guards surged forward, but then something unexpected happened. Jerry screamed, not in fear, but in power. The snow around her lifted in a cyclone of shimmering particles. Her veins pulsed with bioluminescent light, and the sky itself seemed to echo with her voice. I am not a prototype. I am not a project. I am Geraldine, daughter of exile, mate of a free human. And I choose my own future, Celera faltered. For the first time, the matriarch looked unsure. Then Kale stepped beside Jerry and took her hand. You heard her, he said. Now go before we bury you with the last crew that tried to take her. The mountain trembled at the energy coming off Jerry. Now was unlike anything Kale had seen even during the Rift Wars. She wasn't just part human. She was something new, something unstoppable. Celera's lip curled. Then die here together. She gave a sharp signal and the guards attacked. The battle was chaos. Energy bolts streaked through the sky. Jerry moved like lightning, her body fully awakened now. Every touch of hers overloaded enemy armor. Every scream sent shockwaves through the ice. Kale fought beside her, back to back. His plasma rifle glowed red-hot, then fell empty. He switched to his blade, slicing through attackers with brutal efficiency. A guard lunged toward Jerry, but Kale tackled him from behind, slamming his knife through the alien's armor. Jerry turned to him, panting. You're bleeding. So, are you? He shot back, grinning through the pain. They fought as one, and when the last of the guards fell, only Celera remained. She looked around at the smoking wreckage, her mouth a thin line of hatred. You could have been a queen, she hissed at Jerry. I'd rather be loved, Jerry replied. Celera raised a hidden weapon from her sleeve, sleek, golden, aimed directly at Kale. Jerry moved first. A single pulse of blinding blue light erupted from her palm. It hit her mother square in the chest. Celera staggered, eyes wide with disbelief, then fell into the snow. UNMOVING. Silence. Jerry trembled, staring at her own hands. I didn't mean to. Kale stepped forward and pulled her close. She gave you no choice. She was still my mother. She stopped being that a long time ago. They stood together as the first rays of sunrise painted the horizon. In the days that followed, they buried the fallen in the snow, sending a signal to orbit. This territory is free. This woman is free. The dreadnought in orbit drifted away. The Narisians had lost their enforcers. Their last card had failed. The hybrid experiment was over. What remained was hope. Inside the relay bunker, Kale found Jerry tending a small hydroponic garden she'd built from scavenged tech. She looked up and smiled, morning. He stepped in, kissed her cheek, and handed her a small box. She opened it, gasping softly. Inside was a ring crafted from salvaged alloy and old earth titanium. Not flashy, but real. Kale shrugged. I've never done this before. But, do you want to build something permanent? Together? Tears filled her eyes. Yes, always. Outside, the wind blew across the mountain. But inside, there was only warmth, laughter, and the quiet heartbeat of two souls who had chosen each other across worlds. 3 months had passed. The snowfields no longer whispered threats. The hydroponic gardens flourished. Kale taught Jerry how to brew real coffee. and she taught him how to use Narisian nanothreads to knit insulation that could survive plasma fire. Peace had become a rhythm. Soft mornings, long evenings, the scent of steam from the cave baths, and the hush of shared silence between two people who no longer needed words to feel understood. But deep beneath the relay base, deeper than either of them had dared explore something. Pulsed. It awoke slowly, patiently. It had once been a Narisian beacon node, buried to amplify communication across sectors. But this node had fused with something older, a fragment from a ruined starship, organic, self-aware. It sensed Jerry, and it remembered her blood. One afternoon, while cleaning collapsed vents, Jerry found a sealed hatch behind the geothermal units. It hummed under her fingers. "Kale," she called. He came running, wiping grease from his hands. "You find another hot spring or more scrap?" She shook her head. "This isn't relay tech. This is alive." They powered the hatch open. A tunnel descended into a chamber pulsing with green-blue light. Walls covered in ancient glyphs, some Narisian, others unknown. A central pillar stood in the middle. Humming softly, Jerry approached it, and the glyphs lit up in time with her heartbeat. Genetic key recognized, a voice echoed. Sleep cycle terminating. Kale stepped in front of her. Jerry, step back. "I can't," she whispered. "It knows me." Suddenly, images poured from the pillar, holograms of experiments, hybrid programs. Even Jerry's own embryo suspended in fluid. There were hundreds more. Failed attempts, silent screams. Jerry fell to her knees. "They didn't just make me. They perfected me because they killed everything else that didn't survive." The pillar flared again. Activation complete. Protocol. Colony reset initiated. "What does that mean?" Kale demanded. Jerry stood shakily. "It means the Combine didn't just want me to be an envoy. They wanted me to be a seed to restart their empire if the others fell. And now it's waking that empire back up." They had triggered a planetary signal across the stars. Somewhere in the dark, something heard it. Kale grabbed Jerry's hand. "We shut this down. Now." "No," Jerry said softly. "We finish what they started, but our way, not as slaves, not as weapons." She placed her hand on the core again. The system hesitated, then changed. Protocol rewritten. Awaiting new directive. Kale turned to her, eyes wide. "You rewrote." "Their purpose," she nodded, trembling. "I gave it a new one. Protect this world. Protect love. Protect choice. Outside, the skies didn't shake. No fleet arrived. But deep beneath their feet, a new civilization began, one built not on conquest, but on healing. The skies turned red. Days after Jerry rewrote the directive inside the ancient core. They thought they were safe. Peace returned. Kale joked about turning the relay base into a bed and breakfast. Jerry laughed. For the first time in her short, engineered life, she felt alive. But peace was rarely permanent. Not when someone profits from war. High above the planet, a Combine Vanguard ship shattered hyperspace. It hadn't been drawn by their distress beacon. It had come looking for what was missing. Jerry? The ship's captain was a synthetic overlord named Vecthar, half machine, half genetic enforcer. His orders were clear: retrieve Jerry or annihilate the anomaly she'd become. The relay base went dark as a pulse EMP fried its perimeter sensors. Jerry grabbed Kale's arm. Her breath caught. "They're here." He didn't need to ask who. Kale raced to the control panel. "I'll hold them at the ridge." "You can't. Not alone." "I won't be alone. You'll shut them down from the inside, won't you?" She nodded, lips trembling. "Promise me if I don't come back." He kissed her. Hard, fierce, final. "You're coming back." The battle tore across the snowy ridges. Cal former engineer, reluctant soldier fought with jury-rigged mines and stolen plasma rifles. The enemy moved with mechanical precision, but he moved with love. Every wound he took, every fall he endured, he rose again. Because she was out there. Jerry boarded the Vanguard through an underbelly airlock. The ship responded to her. DNA doors opened. Light followed. She walked into the bridge, unarmed, glowing with confidence. Vector turned. Voice cold. "Return to the Combine. Fulfill your function." She smiled. "I've already found my function." He lunged. But she was faster. Jerry reached the ship's neural core and touched it again. This time with the rewritten command buried in her blood. The new directive spread like wildfire through the ship's systems. Protect, preserve, love. Outside, the Vanguard's weapons dimmed. The troops deactivated mid-strike. Kale dropped to his knees in the snow, breathless, expecting death, but only silence remained. Jerry emerged moments later, limping, bruised but free. They stood on the landing platform as the sun rose. "I rewired them," she whispered. "All of them. They can't be used to hurt anymore." Kale wrapped his arms around her. "You did it." "We did." A year later, the planet had a new name, Viara, a haven for outcasts, refugees, lovers who crossed stars to be together. And on the highest hill, the old relay base became something else, a home. Jerry planted glowing seed pods in the garden. Kale carved new tools in the workshop. When strangers arrived, frightened and fleeing, they welcomed them. Jerry cooked. She cleaned. She was quiet, but she also fought, protected, and rebuilt. She was everything, and Kale never once closed his door again.